Hey guys, time for, is this month 7 or 8? I can't remember. I need to look back. Anyway, Eleanor Burns sampler quilt. This month's been just crazy for me, so yeah. All right, let's just get into it. So this month we're doing the Salt Lake City block. It looks pretty complicated, but it's really not. Of course, I'm following her directions in the book, not the way I would normally make things. We're doing it her way because it's her quilt. So you will need a light, which will be your background, and then a dark, and they call for 3 mediums. And the reason being is that center square here is different. I just made my center square the same color as my dark fabric, so you could just use 2 mediums and a dark. So you're gonna need, of the light and of the dark, one 4x8 rectangle of each. You're gonna need 4 2 5/8 inch squares of light, 2 4.5 inch squares of your first medium, which the first medium is going to be where this red is, just so you know where it is in the block. Then let's see here. Okay, yeah, your 2 4 1/4 squares of the first medium cut on the diagonal twice. Then you're going to need 4 4-inch squares of your dark cut once, and in here this is the dark right at these pieces here. And then you need 2 4-inch squares of your second medium cut on the diagonal once. And your second medium is what's going to go around your center square, those lighter yellow colored. And then you need 1 4 3/4 inch square of your third medium, or whatever color, for your center square. All right, here we go. So let me set this aside somewhere out of the way. So the first thing we're going to do is make some half square triangles, and we're going to use the 4x8 rectangles that they had us cut. So there's my dark and there's my light. So you're going to draw a center line, which on these, since they're 8 inches, would be 4 at the 4-inch mark, and then go from corner to corner and draw a line on both sides where it comes in. You can see the diagram and how I have it. And we're going to sew. We're not going to sew on the center line at all. We're going to sew on both sides of this line and both sides of this line, and that'll give us 4 half square triangles. So I'll bend you down here and we'll see what we can do. All right. Okay. So we're going to line these up. Now, if you need to pin these, you can definitely do that because they are kind of big, kind of long. But I did pretty good with just laying them on top of each other. So then, like I said, we're going to sew down 2 lines here and 2 lines here. And I think the way they're doing this is they have you go down one side and then this side and then come back. I find that rather difficult to do. I don't know why. It just doesn't make sense to me. So I'm just going to do it, however I'm going to do it. I'm going to sew off of this end, simply because, like I said, I have to go with what makes sense to me, even though I'm trying to do it the way that she would do it. All right, and then we'll come down this side and go along the other side of that line. Let me get that underneath there. Turn it this way and come down this line. Sorry, back on myself. Okay, now we get to cut it all apart. So I'm just bringing you all over here. And so we are going to cut first on this center line, cut directly on the line because that was the halfway point. Then you're going to cut on the drawn line to get your half square triangles from corner to corner. I just prefer cutting, like I said, I don't really care for doing half square triangles this way, but, for the sake of the quilt, we're going to do it the way they do it. So then you should have 4 half square triangles like that. And I believe, let me double check. I think we're supposed to trim those down. Yeah, we're supposed to square them up to 3.5 inches. So I square before I press. I've got this handy little quilt in a day square it ruler. But if you like to open yours first and then you know, and press them and then trim, that's fine too, but they just need to be 3.5 inches. So I'm going to cut the little dog ears off there, and there is one of them. So you'll need 4 of these, so let's get the rest of these trimmed up. Okay, we're going to get these pressed open. And I like to, these are on the bias, the way I cut my fabric, so I'm just going to roll this open with my fingers and press. And trying not to stretch anything, because I'm notorious for stretching fabric out. And then I wonder why my blocks are not fitting. What is going on? Well, it's because I didn't just take the time to be a little careful during pressing. So that's, yeah, what I'm doing. There we go. So we got 4 half square triangles. Okay, so set your half square triangles aside, and now we're going to get the, I believe it was the first medium, yeah, the 4 1/4 squares of your first medium that we cut diagonally twice, and your 2.5 inch squares. So if you was to put those together, they're going to look like that. We need to sew these on the short edge on one side. So we're going to take our medium here. I know it's going to be kind of hard to see. I don't have anything to show you here. My fabric is so light. Okay, here we go. So we're going to sew this on to this short edge here. And you're just going to line up the top. And you will have an overhang. And then we are going to sew this one on the other side on its short edge also. So we will get a block that looks something like that when we're done, hopefully. If not, well, I don't know. Anyway, all right. So on the short edge, so I'm going to flip the white over and just match the top. Don't worry about the bottom. You will have a hangover. But we're going to trim that off. No big deal. And in the pattern, it says to press this medium to itself. So press it open to the dark side, I guess it would be. So once we have that sewn on, here we go. Now, there we go. This is so confusing. Okay. I don't know. Let me see if I can show you. Okay. So we sewed it on this side. So the side touching it here, we need to sew this other square on. Like that, and so both ends down here are going to hang over and meet. Just match this at the top when you sew it on. So I'm going to flip it over. It's so confusing, but it does have pictures in the pattern, which I will put in a Dropbox link down below the video. And if you need to refer to that, because I did, it was just really rather confusing to me. So then if you press this one open, and the triangles are stretchy, so don't get too wacky and crazy with them. So then that's what your block is going to look like. And then just take a ruler and trim off those little edges. All of this bottom piece should be straight and in line. Mostly just straighten it up if it isn't, but like I said, you just want to trim off of those little pieces there. Okay, so you should have 4 of these units. The next thing we're going to do is add our darker fabric, excuse me, to them. And these were the triangles that we only cut on the diagonal once. My goodness. So with your points facing down, your color up to the top, you're going to take the long edge of the triangle, and it is going to go on right there. And then this one will go on right here. And that's going to be what your block looks like. You're going to have just a teeny bit of hangover on each side. So if you want to center it, What I like to do is just fold these in half and make a little crease, and do the same thing with this, so that I know exactly where the center is. You would think it's going to be that seam, but it is not going to be the seam. So now I can match those up when I go to sew, and it will be exactly centered up. Like I said, you would think that seam would be the center, but it actually is not. And you are going to have just a little bit of hangover, whoops, on each side. Okay. Just don't pull or tug anything because of the stretch. And you're going to have to put these on one at a time on each side, simply because they do cross over up here at the top. So that one goes there. So I should have made the crease before I put that on there, but that's all right. I can see it. Okay. And then this one. All right, right sides together and creases together. There we go. There we go. All right. Press that open. Press that open. Oops, I sewed it without the top. This one being pressed open. Let me fix that. So let me show you. So when I sewed this second piece on, I had this one down and I should have had it open. So I just pulled a few stitches right here, just enough to pull that back so that I could open this one up. And then when I go ahead and sew down, it'll cross over. So I'm just going to start a little ways down and sew it just like that. And then now when I open that up, there we go. All right, so there is that. So you will need 4 of these units here. Okay, so once you have your little units done, we're going to square them up, and let's see, 3.5 by 6.5. You want to make sure you leave your 1/4 inch right up here at the very, very top. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and just make a straight line here by just trimming those dog ears off. Okay, so now I know I'll have my 1/4 inch. And then the best way to center this is these points here need to be 3.25 on the 3.25 line, and just trim both sides or 3 sides. So 3.25, 3.25. All right, so I'm going to trim this side. Then I'm going to come and do this side. And if you have it at 3.25, what I'm finding, see, I already cut this side off, so it's perfect with my ruler. So 3.25 and 3.25, it's going to give me a 6.5 inch length. And we've got that. So the only other thing that I need is the 3.5 this way. So I'm going to make sure, and it looks like it's just right there. So perfect. So let me trim this other one and I'll show you what we're doing here. As you can see, this bottom one's not so bad. These little points here are probably going to get cut off anyway. So I'm going to go 3.25 on this point and that point. And just trim straight off. And 3.25 and 3.25 here. And that will give us our 6.5. And then we need the 3.5 this way, and like I said, you want to leave 1/4 inch there if possible. And again, just trimming dog ears. Perfect. So we'll get those all trimmed up. Okay, and then the last unit that we need to make, you need to take your big square and your other medium, and we are going to sew these on just like this. One on this side, and then we'll come in with these ones. And again, to center it up, just fold your triangles in half, like so, and make a little crease, and do the same thing on your square. crease, and then you should be able to just put them on there, right sides together, and they will be centered up. We're just making a square and a square here. You do have to do opposite sides though, because these, when you go to add these pieces on the top and bottom, they are crossing over the ones you already had on there. And so you will need to press those before you add your sides. But you have to do them opposite so that you can get them to cross over properly. Oops. I forgot to find my center on that one. Okay. Alright, I'm going to press these open and then we'll add the other sides on. Okay, so now you can just take, you can either mark these, or I didn't go ahead and put my crease in it because I knew I was going to press those open. But I'm going to do that now on both sides while I've got it up here. Just match those corners, put a crease, and there we go. Okay, then we'll add our other triangle. And remember, these triangles are going to be stretchy, so don't pull or tug if you can help it. Just lay them on there. If you need to pin them and you feel better doing that, go ahead and pin them. I am not a big pinner. I probably should be, but I'm not. I like doing things the hard way, I guess. I don't know. Excuse me. I will pin if I have to. I mean, if it's something that, you know, I'm really worried about moving on me. Okay. I'll put that under there and sew right down. All right. Okay, so we are going to press this open and then trim it down to 6.5 inches. So my ruler here is a 6.5 by 6.5 inch ruler. The thing you're looking for is you want to make sure you're leaving 1/4 inch beyond your points so that you don't cut your points off. And if you place the 3 1/4 mark on your points at the top and bottom here, you will be directly in the center for the side-to-side cut. And if you do the same thing on the bottom, like so, you will be directly in the center. So I've got just a little bit to trim all the way around. My mat is a rotating mat, and I'm going to use that. Let me make sure. Yep. All right, and I'm going to hold this down and just turn, turn, turn. If you had a small little mat that you were using, you just turn the whole mat. And I think I just slid. I hope I did not. Let me remeasure and make sure. Sometimes, you know, no, that looks good. Okay. I guess I did not. I thought I did. Alright, it's time to put our block together. So, let's lay this out. So, we know this goes in the center, like so. These pieces go here with the dark side down, like so. They go on the solid edges. Everything should be 6.5, so it should all match up. And then your half square triangles. Yes, your half square triangles go to the center. So you definitely want your half square triangles to be the same color as your big triangles that you put onto those little units, because that's what's going to give you the effect that we are going for. That really looks like another block we did already. I hope it's not, but it sure looks like it. Maybe it's because of the color combination I used. Okay, so we're just going to sew it together. I am going to do it in rows. So I've got my first two on my top row. I'm going to chain piece them through and then just add the blocks as we go. Yeah, that was, I was thinking there for a minute, I thought, man, did we already do this one? But I don't think so. I think it's just the color combination I used kind of makes it look like that. But it does look very similar to one of the other blocks that we did. And then while you're sewing this on the back, where your stitches cross right here is right where your point is on your block. So my stitches come right here and right here. So if I sew to this side of that, I know I will keep my point. Sometimes you need to just veer a little bit. So slow down and just veer. And there you go. You saved your point. If you're worried about it. I'm not generally too upset if I lose a point. But, you know, that's just me. Everybody does it differently. So just line these up. Alright, and then what I'm going to do is just open these up and add the other block, like so. You may want to repress your seams on these little half square triangles so that they'll nest better. I think mine's going to be good. Alright, and your big block. Now this one you won't be able to see the back side of, so you can, what you can do is take a pin and put in there if you know right where your point is on the top. Just go right through where your little point is, where your stitches meet. If I had a sharp pin, and then do the same thing on the bottom, just so that you know right where they should meet up. And mine is going to miss it, and I'm going to be able to save my point, so I'm not going to pin it. But you can pin your 2 points there if you need to, just to make sure. Alright, and our half square triangle. There's a lot of work in this block. Okay. So we'll open these up, and I'm probably going to press these to the outside. There's going to be a lot of seams in there. If you wanted to press them open to help with all that bulk, you definitely could do that. I didn't get that one very lined up. I didn't get that one very lined up. That's okay. It's all good. Press those ones to the outside and to the outside. Yeah, this is one of those blocks with all these seams that you might want to press your seams open just so you can get it to lay a little bit flatter. I will just press the daylights out of it. Okay. And this one. So I veered just a little bit there to try to save my point. Alright, and then put this one on this side. So line all that up. Come to the bottom, line these all up just to make sure that they are going to match. Alright, there is our block. Let me get this pressed open. Okay, so here is the block. Excuse me. So if I'd have used a little darker fabric here, but what it does is it makes it look like there's a line going through when there's not. So I kind of like the way that turned out. I did lose my points on right here, but it's close enough for me. I am totally good with it. So that's the Salt Lake City block. And I will have to look. I think this is block 8, but I'm not sure. Might be block 7. I don't know. I'll look. There we go. So I'll see you guys next month. Have a great day.